So I've been replaying Hogwarts Legacy. That is a weirdly special game to me, and I'm going to put on my Disney shirt to make the comparison. It's the closest thing that we have to a digital Disneyland. Like, the appeal of that game to me is all the same notes as going to Disneyland. I think on a surface level, as a game itself, when you compare it to many other games that are contemporary out right now, it shouldn't be as loved as it is. It shouldn't have sold as much as it is if you purely looked at it from mechanics and mechanics only. Because I'm not saying anything new here. The gameplay is a little bit generic. It's simple and it's for everybody, which is part of the reason why it probably sold so well. It doesn't do anything new, it doesn't do anything fancy, but the thing that it really focuses on is committing to the bit of Harry Potter. And that's probably something the general lexicon has been looking for a while, because before this game, you only had like licensed games that looked kind of crappy that were on the Wii and PS2, and even then it didn't really give you that feeling of being a goddamn freaking wizard. When this game originally came out, I didn't even know how much of a Harry Potter fan I was, but I was just the perfect age for it. I was the same age as all the actors, and so each movie that came out, I was kind of the same age as them too. So it was a very big nostalgic piece in my childhood, in my upbringing. And what this game really does really well is purely environmental storytelling, triggering that nostalgia, giving you the opportunity to explore all of Hogwarts in all its high fidelity glory. And you kind of like can't help but look around the world and look at everything and look at all the details that they put all over the place. A lot like you would be at Disneyland. It's not that you could do everything, it's just that the edges that have been created there is really immersive. And the areas, everything about the game really focuses on what the environment is. It's that the focus of the game, they understood, was going to be keep your eyes on the world that's in front of you, because the world was the star of the show. So in a way, they didn't really need to do anything fancy. They needed to be Hogwarts. They needed to be Hogsmeade. They needed to let you fly a broom. They needed to give you that experience of being a student in Hogwarts, and it nails that. And that's the focus, and that's why it sold so many damn copies. There's so many little inklings of focus and the way that they committed to the bit that I just really appreciate. When you look at the quest tracking system, the little trail that guides you through the world, that's an in-world thing. It could have been a little dot on the minimap like Witcher 3, but they didn't do that. It's going that one little extra step of not doing something new, but finding a way to fold it into the world. I've always really appreciated games that do that, because it's a medium that allows you so much freedom in crafting its world and helping the player in ways that keep your eyes in the world and not the UI. And that's something that really frustrates me a lot with modern games, is that a lot of times they use UI to be a solve for problems that could be you looking at the world. And how all the optional content still keeps you engaged in the world. Because there's flying pages around, it means you have to look up. And when you look up, just for a flying page, the backdrop is still Hogwarts. And there's this like weird sense of joy of just looking at the world, because they put so much love and detail into it. When you Revelio and you try to find each page thing, and you realize how much around the world is there to find for you to collect, then the entire world becomes a viable place to look. It's so simple, and it feels exactly like what going to theme parks is like. It's that everything should be worth looking at. It's smart placement of interactions in the world, where you get like really cheap bronze level cinematics that don't have a camera, that don't whatever. They're just events that happen as you walk by. So it makes the world feel a little bit more alive, like things are actually happening around you as you walk through these triggers, and it triggers something that happens around you. It's like these little cheap touches that are everywhere that don't cost a lot to make in terms of content, but it fills the world out and makes it feel like a living space. And the focus of everything that your eyes go to is always on the world itself. You get a broom, you get a mount, and when you're flying around, there's something that feels really nice about it. And you can tell where the scope creep starts to end, right? Like, they very quickly tell you Quidditch is not here, because that would have been an insane game to make, which ended up being its own game entirely. But maybe they fold that into the next game. It becomes something like a blitzball thing. Like, I could see a reality where they lead into like the Yakuza style. They take the game that they have and they keep adding mini games and things to it, so that it really fleshes out the world and builds different activities for you to do. It's such a good first swing at this. And it's so good, in fact, when I went to Universal Hollywood and went to Hogsmeade, I was disappointed because of how well Hogwarts Legacy did it. I actually came home and wanted to play Hogwarts in order to get that feeling of being there again. And like, it's not anything special, right? Instead of punching and instead of guns, you get a wand and spells. It's simple, but it's all encompassing, and it works together so well. And I'm so appreciative of things like that, because there isn't really much other games that do that have a world that has this much lore that exists in a way that just makes it so fun to explore. The castle feels massive. No matter how many times I go around that thing, I just get lost. Partially because I do follow the guide, the breadcrumb guide thing, but it's so windy and starry, and there's little magical touches of how it all comes together. All which is just like little tricks in the mind, little illusions. Because when you see like the staircase and the steps are coming out in front of you, you know that the collision is there the whole time. And it's just programmed in a way that like the stairs come out when you step near it. But it's the little touches, man. It's the little touches that makes you feel so damn cool about doing that. And there's no other game that makes you feel like you're in such a world that's living like this. We live in such a time where games are just trying to make you fill bars. Everything is so obvious what they're trying to do. They're trying to keep you engaged with weird carrots on a stick to keep you hooked, to keep you playing. But no one ever tries to just flesh out the world in a way that makes you immersed and enjoying the world. Everything's about filling bars to fill bigger bars to then fill other bars and get stuff. Just stuff. Just give them stuff. Maybe GTA is pretty close. Maybe a Cyberpunk is pretty close. Maybe a Skyrim is pretty close. But there's rarely any games that really just have a world that feels so alive and hits all the themes of the movies too. You throw in the music, you throw in the lighting, you throw in how Hogwarts is, but you throw in the fidelity of everything. And it just makes for a really awesome game. It sold over 30 million copies. That is insane, especially for a first swing like that. So that means they probably get a better budget, they probably get a little more time, and they have a baseline to then build something on. Just like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 just did, they took a lot of the same learnings and the same base game that they had, and they were able to pump a lot more content into the second one. And that's all I'm hoping that Hogwarts Legacy 2 gives us. I was a little worried there when they were talking about live service games and trying to milk live service games, but they need to make a 2 because that 2 will sell. It's kind of the only thing outside of a Nintendo game that has that same like joy that permeates through it with a little hint of darkness. Because usually, Harry Potter stuff is usually a little bit dark in the bad things that are happening around. Yeah, I've just been playing it. It's really fun. It's just fun to be in that world. And that's very rare in games nowadays. I'm pretty goal oriented, so I find myself trying to push through a lot of games. Get to the meat of it. But this is one of the few games where I find myself slowing down, not using fast travel, kind of working my way through it slowly, listening to what everybody says with the subtitles off. And it's just a shining example of like how to do it right with the right amount of focus, without reinventing the wheel, using the right IP or licenses, and putting less structure that's rigid in the game. Because when you make a rigid game, a lot of games are rigid, is that when you want to have a certain vibe with a game, you can't. There's very rarely a game where you just get to explore and walk around and feel good about it, and that is worth doing in itself. And I think Hogwarts Legacy deserves a big clap, A+ for doing that very well. So good luck to Avalanche on their next game. I just wanted to gush about Hogwarts Legacy today. If you enjoyed this at all, I'm trying to make a video every day. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.